Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. And now our next and the final presentation for this 3-day event, which is going to conclude after this, is on the elevator industry as a preferred employer. Before we get into this, I just want to say that we had a wonderful 3 days event with thousands of people coming into the platform and experiencing the platform and attending the webinars also. And through Mr. Krishna Kumar and Mr. Uday, we had really developed a great number of panel discussions and presentations and could cover most of the subjects, which was really critical. So I would like to, before we end this, to say that, thank you to all of you who took so much of time and effort to be a part of this and addressing all the, all the topics so enthusiastically. So Sheetal, welcome. And, thank you so much for, accepting our invitation to address this topic. Before Sheetal starts her presentation, I would like to introduce her. Sheetal Shah is the Chief People Officer at Schindler India and South Asia. She holds a Master's in Human Resource Management from the University of Leeds, UK. Before her elevation as a CPO, she has led the business HR and HR strategic projects in India, with 2 years stint in Middle East as HR Director of Schindler UAE. In the earlier years of her nearly a 2 decades long career in human resource, she was associated with companies such as Hindustan Liver, Reliance Retail, Avaya Global Connect, working on people processes, driving the culture of inclusion and diversity, and investing in social impact for corporate growth are some of the topics that she is deeply passionate about. She was listed among top 100 HR under 40 in 2018. That's wonderful, Sheetal. And over to you. I will just put your presentation on. Just give me a minute. Yeah. 1 minute. I'm just going to do that. Now, where is? Yeah. Sheetal, I think you're.
Yes.
No, did we go? Yeah.
Great. May I start?
Yes.
Okay, great. Anita, thank you very much for having me. I've been very excited about this session. Good afternoon to everyone and greetings from, I would say, a very warm summer weekend in Mumbai. The topic for today that I'm going to speak about is on how can elevator industry become a preferred employer. I know over the past 3 days, you all have heard from experts in this field on its future, on the market, on challenges in the economy, on safety, on codes, digitalization, all possible different topics. But if we don't have people and the right people to run all of these things that we've been discussing about, we are in trouble. And that's why I believe in any case that as an elevator industry, we elevate people, we elevate urban living, we elevate careers. It is a broad topic, and therefore what I'm going to do today is try and bring it down to 3 critical points. Anita, can we go to the next slide?
Yes. Next one?
Yes, please. So before I begin, I want to start with a fun fact. There's something that I came across while I was doing my research around the elevator and escalator industry. By the way, there is not much research available on what the workforce looks like, on what workforce strategy should be, or what are the skill sets that will be required in the future. But anyways, this is one fun fact which I want to present to you, is that only one out of the 270 detailed occupations listed in the 1950 US Census has been eliminated by automation. Okay, this is by a Harvard economist, and that occupation, surprisingly, the only one is the elevator operator, right? So we've been wondering how automation might affect our industry in the future. Now, take a minute to consider that automation often replaces human labor. And the surprising part is that over the last 60 years, and this is of course from a US study, automation has totally eliminated only one US occupation, which is the elevator operator. Do we need to be worried about it? No, not really. I would take this as an opportunity because it is one of the industries where we actually see a change, and we've seen this industry evolve over the period of years. So before I move on to how we can become a preferred employer, I would actually like to first focus on what are the current challenges as an industry that we are facing. Anita, can we move to the next slide? So these are some of the challenges that I have listed down based on my own experience. So my own experience, Anita was sharing with you all, is that I've worked in telecom, then I've worked in retail, and then I've worked with an FMCG company. And then the last 10 years for me have been with Schindler, which is an elevator and an escalator company. And when I was joining Schindler, this is one of the challenges, right? On how do you explain that E&E industry is, a great place to work in? One of the challenges we have is the employer brand, right? So when I joined Schindler, a lot of my family members are like, what is that company? Is it Schneider or is it Schindler? Oh, who are the competitors? Is it Kone or Kone? What is it called? These are the kind of questions I had, which shows that, and this is just 10 years back, okay? And I don't think we've come a very long way from there. But thanks to social media, today your company culture can have a huge influence on the caliber of the candidate you attract, right? Because today, if you go to websites like Glassdoor or LinkedIn, you will find out everything about the company. You will find out what the current employees are thinking about your company. You will find out what the past employees are saying about your company. And therefore, it's very important that overall, as an industry, we improve our employer branding is one of the key challenges that we face. The second one that I want to talk about is our industry doesn't have a glamour quotient, right? Because when we are talking about our industry, we are considered under essential services. Today, the Gen Y, Gen Z, etc., everyone wants flexibility. But as an essential services company, we have to be available 24/7. And that shouldn't be a point which is de-selling our industry. However, it can be a great opportunity for us to present it in a way that you are providing essential services like the health workers in the pandemic are doing. Same for safety. I've had actually, we've been trying to hire a lot of diversity candidates, and I've personally had discussions with some female students from ITIs, and they said, "Ma'am, we would love to join your company, but we would like to join only your manufacturing setup." Right? So the question is why? Because if I have to climb up a shaft, my parents will not allow it. It is a safety thing, and in our society, it is considered a man's job, right? Because of course, in our industry, one of the challenges we face is that we can have a loss of life. And therefore, it becomes again something, a question that we should be asking ourselves as an industry: how can we make and change this entire safety mindset? It's not about having safety procedures. I know every single company in the elevator industry have good safety procedures, sanction matrix, etc. But how do we change the mindset where safety is becoming the DNA for every employee, so that we can set better examples for ourselves? Is something that we need to think about. The other topic I want to speak about as a challenge is specialized skills. So all of us want trained manpower. When I joined Schindler 10 years back, I was told, so we had in Schindler, we were hiring almost 80% of our employees from other elevator companies. And I would imagine for other elevator companies also, it would have been the same. However, now if you see the workforce that we have in Schindler, 50% is yes from the elevator, either because we've trained them or they've come from other elevator companies. But other 50%, comes from different backgrounds, different qualifications. So when I say different backgrounds, it means we've even tried to hire people from defense, from completely different industries. So I'm not talking about building management systems, right? Because the mindset for us has always been that we want trained manpower, right? And how do we deal with that? There is a negligible number of vocational trade institutes in India today that actually even offer a course on elevator and escalators. So where should I get this diverse pool of people from, or where should I get this kind of specialized skills from where I can have good lift mechanics? These don't exist. So good candidates, and the worst part is that good candidates are in demand. So if you go to the best ITIs in Chennai, for example, they will be picked up by the elevator companies just like that, and there is literally a fight for them. It's like how it happens in these schools on day zero. That's what happens for vocational trade in elevator industry. And the thing is that, are these people going to recruitment consultants saying like, "Meko job dilwa dijiye"? It's not like that. Are they reading the newspaper? Are they just going to a job portal and looking for it? No. Today, our challenge has changed. Our challenge has become that we have to seduce our potential candidates. We have to approach them proactively. We will have to give them like 1,000 cups of coffee before they choose which one is the best and where they want to go, because there is short supply of the specialized skills that we want. Right. The next big topic, which I also consider as a big challenge, is the changing expectations of the workforce. Right. So today, job seekers are acting more like consumers. It's There is research actually that tells us that the average time that a person who starts a new job takes before starting to look at other opportunities is at least 9 weeks. So people are constantly pursuing jobs, rather they are pursuing companies, just like the way they would pursue cars, or a fancy house to live in. Right. So even though they are not intending to buy tomorrow, they are researching and they are open to it. Now, when you have a workforce, traditionally it was not like that. We had a job vacancy, we would go out, we would look for the person we want to hire, and that's it. We would find the person and the person is on board. That's not the era that we are living in, because the expectations have changed. And the expectation also from the organization perspective has changed for our industry, especially after Corona last year, during COVID. I would say the entire uncertainty capability that we want our leaders to have is something that B schools don't teach you. Right. So how do I find leaders who can thrive and who can drive us successfully during these times of change is what organizations are looking for. And does that capability exist in the market is a question mark. Right. So if I put all of this together, companies need to change the way they think about hiring, or else they are at risk of being left behind. Right. And that takes me to my next topic, which I want to bring down to and speak about. Um, yes, these are the three checkpoints. Since I have only an hour, I thought I will narrow it down and just talk about three key points which can help the elevator industry become a preferred employer. So the first one over here is improving company culture and building a strong employer brand. One, as a company or as an industry, we have to do a lot. Second, identify your ideal candidates and how to reach to them. It's not like we can take everybody on board, and just because you see some talent outside, you can get them on board. You also have to know what the company wants, what the organization wants, what your customer wants, so that you can win in the marketplace. The third point is engaging with your target market. So once you have stepped up your efforts as a company on what your culture looks like, second, you know what you want and how to reach out to those people, to that audience. You will have to go out and engage the target market and build up a good relationship. As I said in the previous point, in the previous slide, that people are not looking for jobs uh, reactively. It's not like, okay, now I have a push factor, so now I should change my job. People are constantly looking at companies and they are saying, they are watching out on every single company, saying, this is the next company I want to join. So as employers, we need to also build a lot around our employer branding. And that brings me to the next point, wherein um, the entire tide has turned, where from talent um, acquisition, we need to start focusing on talent attraction. It's not only about bringing people on board, it's about people wanting to come on board with you, right? Anita, can we move to the next slide? Next slide, please.
You're on the next slide, sir.
Yeah, one more, Anita.
Okay. Is this on?
Yes, thank you. So what I want to really speak about over here, traditionally, if we want to see if our company is doing well, HR needs some reinvention here. Okay, and this is a topic only right now I'm specifying only for HR reinvention. What I'm trying to really highlight over here is that as an organization, you know, if we want to see where we are and if we want to become a preferred employer, we traditionally have been looking at either benchmarking ourselves with other industries, or we will look at best practices from other industries. But what I am really trying to propose over here, in fact, not me, but this is a model being prescribed by Dave Ulrich, who is the most well-known HR guru. He speaks about how you should move to guidance. And let me explain this a little bit, right? Because when you're looking at benchmarking, so if you're looking at our industry becoming a preferred employer, benchmarking will provide you descriptive data. It will describe how our scores compare to the scores of other industries. It will become prescriptive as we use the lens of fixing our weakness or building on strengths as our source of insight for what to do. Right now, when we observe, what leading companies are doing and how they're sharing information with others, um, that's going to tell you where you stand against another company, but that's not going to tell you what you can do better. And that brings you to the next step. So you start looking at best practices. Now, best practices will show up in terms of case study, of leading companies. They will talk about it in seminars, talks, articles. So you can, of course, as an industry, we can look at best practices from FMCG or from engineering and from other manufacturing companies and industries. However, best practices will also fall short, right? So I cannot say that because the lighting industry is doing X, the elevator industry should do it. It's successful for them, so let us do it. Because best practices will only be able to focus on others and not yourself. Best practices will be able to make you focus backward than forward, right? And they are often piecemeal and not systemic. So you might pick up one great initiative. However, for how long that initiative will last is a question mark, because it might be a standalone initiative and not integrated with the culture. So what Dave Ulrich really speaks about is that guidance, when you move from benchmarking and best practices, right? Guidance actually builds on benchmarking, which sets like a baseline for how your organization compares to others, and best practices, which is actually highlighting which practices others have successfully used. So guidance will actually focus on what should be done to deliver on your organization's results from the human capital investments that you are making. So let me give you an example. And of course, the closest example for me to give is from Schindler. Anita, can we move to the next slide?
Oh, sorry.
Right. So I'll give you a short example of how we have dealt with this at Schindler. Right. When I say guidance, um, okay, or let me put it in a very simple way for everyone to understand. I may compare Schindler with other elevator companies. So I may look at, say, Kone or Thyssen or Mitsubishi or Otis, and I find some best practice that Otis is doing, and I try and bring that into Schindler. Will that work for me? Not always, right? And that's why this is a pertinent topic where we need to start looking at our own organization on what your organization wants to deliver. What is the organization's purpose? So today, if you walk into Schindler, any employee will be able to tell you what the strategy of Schindler is, what is the vision of Schindler, and that also not for this year, for 2025, right? And based on that, what are the strategic actions does Schindler need to take? And one of the biggest strategic action is building a task force that is fit for future, right? When I say fit for future, we are looking at building a workforce that will be fit for future to help us align and to help us actually deliver and achieve the vision that we've set for ourselves. Now, one of the things within that, right? I mean, last year, these are some of the ones that I have shown over here. During the COVID times, we had to quickly adapt, right? I mean, everyone has heard about being an agile organization. Last year, when we had to forcefully implement work from home concept, of course, not for everyone, not for all our field workers, but for the rest, we introduced remote working guidelines. Now, I'm just sharing few practices that we've come up with to create a safe, diverse, and sustainable work environment. Here we came up with a happy hour. So even today, between 1 to 2 p.m., every day has been earmarked as a silent hour, right? When I say silent, when I say happy hour, in this time, we encourage our employees to spend time to eat their food. A lot of us even have to cook, whether you are women or men, or you have to feed your children. And being cognizant of that, we've said that 1 to 2, let's avoid all kinds of phone calls or meetings should be avoided. Of course, if it's customer calls, you have to take them. The next one is do not disturb. Again, everywhere I put um, conditions apply. So, of course, for our service technicians, this may or may not be applicable always. However, we are encouraging a culture within our industry where we are saying that we want to ensure that from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. is your personal time, during which all your meetings and calls should be avoided. Even if all employees cannot do this, because there are employees who would be working in shifts and they may have to attend callbacks, at least for say maybe 2 days in a week I'm doing that, but the rest of the days I have my 8 to 8 as my personal time, right? So this is something that we are encouraging. The next one is a very interesting one with Teams coming in and Zoom calls and WebEx, etc. The whole day for all of us has been full of meetings, and that's not something that's happening in our industry. It's happening in all industries across the world. And so in Schindler, what we've done is every last Thursday of every month has been observed as a no meeting day. So within Schindler, internally, we do not have any meetings. We call it Thursday for thinking. Go take your time, clear your mails, think, strategize, catch up on some reading that you may have to do, some presentations that you may have to make. You leave that day just for no meetings at all, just one day in the month, and trust me, it is so productive. People have come back and told me that that's the most productive day of their entire month. The next one, we did small things even before Google and Microsoft announced, the collective holiday. We gave a Monday for myself, which is a collective break, wherein the entire company on one of the Mondays after a hectic month, we said let's all of us just take a break, because the what do I say, work and home, the timelines between both of them had got so blurred that we said you need to unplug to be able to actually come back and plug in. So it says plug out to be able to plug in. And we continue to do this. Another interesting initiative that we have, um, and you can see, these initiatives are actually going to help you change the culture. It's going to help you change the mindset, wherein the culture that we are trying to drive over here is that we want you to feel safe, and safe is not about giving PPEs. It is not about safety protocols. It's not about that. We are saying that we care about your well-being, and that's what safety is about. So if you extend that concept of safety within the elevator escalator industry to overall well-being, see how much we can do. So another initiative that we have under the Schindler University is the Jeevan Jyot Academy. Jeevan Jyot, as the name suggests, Jeevan is life and Jyot means light. So it says light of life. We actually have several academies which got extremely active last year, because we said when you have time from home, instead of, when you're not spending that time traveling, you're saving time, focus on your self development. There were 2 or 3 months when the work had also slowed down, not for the HR folks or not for our front line, but for a lot of other functions. We said, please utilize the time. And over here, the entire the sessions that we were having, you could invite even family members for these sessions. There were leadership talks, there were inspiration talks, there were life lessons coming, there were sessions on mental health, physical well-being, all kinds of different life skills on how we can cope with the current situation was being taught. And of course, apart from this, we were also running our full-fledged technical sessions. We had our sales academy also running it. So that's the advantage of having a people focused and a culture that is. So at Schindler, people development is actually a core value for us. And this is how we've been working on it, by expanding it, not only limiting it to technical skills, but expanding it to actually becoming better people, happier people, in your work life. Um, in fact, this year, our entire engagement calendar is called Atman Tan. For those of you all who don't know, Atman and Tan. At is soul, man is heart, and tan is your body. So we are saying focus on the overall well-being. So we have multiple different programs which we are conducting. Like last week, we had a session for all employees and their families. There have been times when we've even invited our customers to join in. Um, where we've invited a dietitian to tell you what kind of diet you must follow, or we've done laughter yoga sessions. We've had leaders come and speak about their personal journeys and their personal inhibitions that they have been able to overcome, whether it's depression or it's even topics like being an introvert. So we've touched upon topics that people shy away from talking, and we've had actually leaders come up and speak and share their own experiences. We also invite employees. So we have something called the COVID diaries, wherein employees actually come and speak about and share their experiences on what happened to them during COVID, or what happened, during when a family member was impacted. This creates conversations. This creates um, experiences which make you feel that you are operating in a safe, diverse, and a sustainable work environment. In fact, this week, just yesterday, we had, and today we are having Corona Hatke Awards for a change probably in the history of Schindler India in 20 years. We didn't award at all on KPIs. We didn't award anyone on numbers for 2020. We awarded people only on their behaviors. only on their attitude. So we had awards like Joy Super Spreader to the Quarantine Health Freak Award. We had a whole series of awards, which is called the Corona Hatke Awards. And I must tell you, if you just see the joy and the twinkle in the eye when a person receives that recognition, there's no financial benefit with this. It's just a certificate. But when a person receives that appreciation, it's something else. The last thing I want to speak about is, especially for our industry, um, if you look at um, the diversity ratio, I would suspect it's not more than 8 to 10%. In fact, Anita, I was looking at your entire panel of speakers, whether it's for your panel discussion or for the speakers that you've had. We don't have enough women, right? And sorry, for me, diversity is not about gender, so please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, as an industry, if we want to become a preferred employer, we will have to work on creating a culture that is more inclusive and that is more diverse. Because if you're going to stick to just hiring people, so when I joined Schindler, I used to feel so happy because I almost joined like a recruiter. Right. I used to feel so happy. I would find a CV, just say, you'll find first 3 years Thyssen, next 3 years Otis, next 2 years Kone. And now the person is coming to Schindler. Wow, this is my perfect CV. Honestly, today, we do not look at it that way. We are trying to look at diverse experience. And this is where, Anita, sorry, are you saying something?
No, nothing. What you said is right. That we had very, I can say only 3 women in the whole of panel. With yes, continue, Sheetal.
Yeah. So this is where, as an organization, or I would say as an industry, we will all have to have a more open mindset, because it's easy to hire diversity candidates, right? Because diversity is more about who I am. You can hire a different person from a different background, from a different age group, with a different qualification, from a different nationality, with a different gender, right? We can do all of that. But the question is, can you retain them? Can you make them feel included? Can we make our employees, I mean, the diverse set of employees that we are hiring, can we just improve the entire employee experience that they have? Why I'm speaking about this so much, right, as an organization, is because I truly believe that an endorsement from somebody who works at an organization, at your organization, right, is one of the most powerful ways to attract talent. Your employees are your brand ambassadors. So if you're going to treat them well, right, you will not have to invest so much in your employer branding, right? So the commitment to revitalizing company culture has to run deeper than just like a ping pong table in the staff room. It has to move away from just offering a great salary, or certain perks, or okay, I will give you a car. No, it's about making your employees feel special, treating them fairly, giving them opportunities to grow and learn, and communicating with them, right? And this, why I'm saying, is that with the whole advent of social media, um, a false employer brand is unsustainable in the long term, right? Because your employees, you might be saying, okay, we are working on diversity and inclusion, and there on Glassdoor, you have some employee going and speaking about you on how the person felt not included in your organization, right? So, um, everything that we do have to be working in some sort of synchronicity to attract people. That takes me actually to my next topic, the part two, which is identifying our ideal candidates and how to reach out to them. So we've discussed so far, what we should do as an industry or as an organization. So now we know we need to step up our efforts. However, when you're attracting talent, the question is, who do you want to attract, right? Who are those people who are going to be successful in your organization, in our industry, right? A lot of times I've heard hiring managers from our industry say, nahi, ye elevator ka banda nahi hai. This person doesn't have elevator experience. It's not going to work. We need someone who is more Schindlerized, and I'm sure that's the case with all the other elevator companies. So what we are doing differently, which I would like to share with you all, is identify which people can be successful. It's not that only people with elevator background are going to be successful in our companies. People are not born with elevator background, right? The knowledge can be built. So what we're doing is we've actually done a certification with DDI, which is Development Dimensions International. This is a model that we are using from them, wherein for all of our critical profiles, we've said we will define what a success profile is. Now, what is a success profile? It is a holistic picture of job success. And these are the 4 elements that you can see over there. The first one is knowledge, wherein, say, for example, I have a branch manager position, right? I will identify what is the technical or professional knowledge that is required for their role and the aptitudes like specific intellectual capacity that is required for that role, right? Of course, in job descriptions, all of us have job descriptions. All of us have JDs nicely written. These are the roles, these are the responsibilities, this is the knowledge, this is the qualification I require. That's not what we are talking about. What we are talking about is what kind of knowledge, what kind of experience, what kind of behavioral competencies, and what kind of personal attributes do you require to actually become a successful branch manager in the elevator industry, right? So experience need not say that the branch manager needs to have experience uh, in, say, sales or new installations, or service. No, what we are really putting down is that the experience required is that you need someone who understands and has experience of leading PNL, right? Of team of We need experience where the person has managed large teams, right? And the minute you do that, it opens up this whole new audience or potential candidates that you can hire from. We also have listed down behavioral competencies, right? Because in our industry, we need a safety mindset. So there are different competencies for every single role that we've identified. By the way, I'm saying this, it's not that it's just, a 1 hour or a 2 hour exercise. It's not like writing a job description. One success profile we start with, and it takes us minimum 30 hours to write a success profile and 30 hours of collective discussion, focus group discussions, and using a cart sort method, right? Wherein you start with what the organization wants to achieve and what the priorities are, therefore, what the leaders should have in them as behaviors, and then we take it down to every single role holder so that everything is aligned with what the organization wants to achieve, right? So it's as good as saying it's finding the purple squirrel. I'm sure you've heard of the term. It's just basically, all of us, I know in the industry are, especially now in these times, are just trying to find the right talents. All of us at this point, when we cannot invest as much in training or giving as much time, for onboarding a person, we want trained professionals or we want experienced professionals. Whereas when we are using the concept of success profiles, it's given us a very different perspective of what kind of candidates we should be trying to attract. So that's where success profiles comes in. Can we move to the next slide, please? Right. So then here comes my last point, where um, once you've identified, right, this is your talent that you want to hire, this is the talent that you want to attract, right? We will have to start using a proactive recruitment approach, right? So one of the things I want to speak about over here is a very interesting piece that I came across, which I've shared with you all on the slide. It is about um, this whole concept of brand citizenship, right? So there's this author who has spoken very beautifully about um, how we can move from me to we. And let me just explain that. I'll just take a minute, to explain that. The brand citizenship model that this author has put and is developed on the me to we continuum, right? The so say for example, if I look at a company like Apple, right? And if you look at it as a leadership brand, you'll be like, wow, right? However, um, if you ask um, the millennials today, does Apple, would you associate Apple as a company as a good corporate citizen? Probably not. And I'll tell you why, right? I'm sorry, I didn't want to name a particular company, but the idea over here of brand citizenship is that you start with me and you move towards we. So basically, when you start with me, you're saying trust. First is don't let me down. So we are saying that companies that deliver on their promises, on the people promises that they make and they keep, will be more trusted. The next step over here talks about enrichment, right? It doesn't talk about, give me better salary. What we are really talking about over here is, can we have an environment or a company which enhances my daily life, right? So people will identify more with, not companies that are only paying you better, but companies that are allowing you to learn, to grow, and to be companies which are giving you opportunities actually to be, to enrich your daily lives. The next step we speak about is responsibility, right? Now, especially right now, we expect, when we are saying that we want employees to work from home, they expect the same thing in return, that as employers, we behave fairly. We treat our employees fairly, we behave ethically, and we be proactive in our business practices. The next point is connect me, right? Especially again, this is so relevant at this point in time where it talks about connect me, wherein we are saying that we need to have forums and platforms in spite of the current problems, social problems that we have, um, that we give people to connect and network with each other and even outside with communities and large, so this could be of course with your customers, but also then with your vendors, with the other associated communities, even through your CSR programs. The last one is contribution. Make me bigger than I am, right? As an organization, if brands play an active role, you know, if companies play an active role in creating a more positive and life enhancing future, you will have um, people who will want to stick with you. If I have to actually bring this down and explain this in a very different way, a lot of our companies do attrition analysis, right? We go back and check, why are people leaving us? Look at it slightly differently and go back and ask yourselves, and do actually talk to your employees who have stayed for 3 years, 5 years. Especially in elevator industry, we have veterans. We have, for example, in Schindler itself, we have stories to tell where we've had a GT join us who has reached the management team position in 15 years time or 12 years time. We have employees who worked in 7 different countries across the world within Schindler Group in their 15 years career, right? Which is fantastic. What I'm really trying to say is, look at what you're doing well and look at how you can share that with others. When you go to a graduate school, I mean an engineering school or an MBA school, elevator companies don't generally go there on day zero. Our companies go generally a bit later. Why is that? I think if we are able to sell our stories, um, and if we are able to speak about these wonderful careers, I would take my career as an example, and I'll be extremely honest with you. When I joined Schindler, I didn't think it was my dream company, but I was willing to try because I was in HR and I thought moving from one industry to a different industry will help me. And this industry, moreover, this company, has fulfilled all my career ambitions, from going abroad to working on different projects to doing my own self development, and today from joining as a manager to being, I mean, having reached the CXO level in 10 years. These are the stories that we really need to go out and share and keep sharing regularly with everyone outside, so that this industry is looked at in different light, and this industry is looked at in a way that, wow, this is the place I want to be. That pretty much brings me to the end of my presentation. So I would say, please go out there, elevate careers, and be a great place to work. I'm sure we'll be able to find and attract amazing talents. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheetal. That was so wonderful. Just 1 minute, I'll just, yeah. Thank you so much. That was such a great perspective, and the way you put it across, it was really interesting. And I'm sure, everyone who heard you would understand the deep level of understanding which you have in terms of bringing these, aspects in such a simple manner. And, we have had many discussions in in last 2 days about how elevator industry needs to become a preferred employer, how we need to really position the industry itself as a, someone which is more attractive industry, like other industries are doing. And this being a service industry, how you need to really develop the soft skills of everyone who just then becomes an ambassador for each company. So it's been a great journey for us in these 3 days, where we've covered various perspectives and understanding of each topic. And this was wonderful to hear, and how, and especially the concept of what you said as a brand citizenship is really amazing. And how do we need to really build a community? I understand. I think if elevator industry work towards building a community by itself, I think it will grow from there on. Yes. Thank you so much, and wonderful having you. And I would definitely come back to you with any kind of questions if we hear from people, or they can connect with you directly. And we will post this in our other social media, the recording of it. And I'm sure many more people can get impacted with your thought process, especially students and people who are really looking to come to the industry to work. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best, and a much brighter and good future in the future too. So thank you so much. And I think with this, we come to the end of GLE Expo Virtual. Great experience, like I said. We had thousands of people who came and attended all the sessions. A very great appreciation and gratitude to all the panelists and all the members who attended from everywhere. Special thanks to my team who's sitting in across different cities and trying to manage this whole thing. Thank you. Without you guys, this would have not been possible. Thank you so much. And as a team, we have really shown to the industry that virtual platforms can really work. And I am really grateful to you all for that. And I think this is one of the best ways to connect with people. and at the time when it is, when pandemic is really giving us the challenge of having a face-to-face meeting. So wonderful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with you all again soon with some new initiatives. And that will be announced very soon. Thank you.